And welcome back, everyone, on the live stream and in the venue here. This is the 5th session of the British Diving Futures Cup. We have the finals for the junior competitions coming up. We saw their semi-finals this morning. We're going straight to have their finals. I have another person with me now, Mia Valet from Team Canada. You're the first international athlete we've spoken to. Thank you for joining me, Mia.
Well, I'm glad to be here, glad to be chosen.
That's perfect. You've had a very good competition so far. You competed really strongly yesterday, first of all, in the women's 3-meter event. You've got your final coming up soon. But also, you did the team event yesterday. Both Canadian teams doing very strongly. You came out with a silver medal. But obviously, that's a lot of points already for Team Canada for the team trophy. Are you happy?
I'm pretty happy. I mean, can't complain. Canada 1 and 2. And I think everybody dove. We showed some of our best diving so far. So
absolutely. You guys certainly took the standard really high in that event. How did you feel in your prelim and semi-final yesterday? Your performance, to me, looked very strong.
I mean, I was incredibly happy with it. I think I dove some of the best I can do. And first international meet in couple years for me, honestly, so being able to pull it together like that in a prelim and a semi, and I'm just excited for the final, you know, start back at 0, so.
Exactly, back at 0, you'll be feeling good. Okay, we've got that coming up very soon. Mia, thank you so much for talking to me now. Good luck for your competition. I wish you luck. It's going to be exciting.
Thank you.
First of all, coming up, though, we do have the finals for the junior competition. Stay with us. It's going to be great events, and stay with us to catch Mia as well. Cheers, guys. So we are here back in the commentary box. I am with Yona Knight-Wisdom. Mia Valet was just speaking to me just before. We will get to see her compete later this afternoon. But first of all, Yona, we have the junior finals. You were here with me this morning when we were commentating over their semi-finals. So this is where the real business end begins. This is where we will obviously see medals for all of the competitions that we're going to witness now. The men's junior 3-meter springboard final, that's going to be the first event. Again, we're going to follow the same format that we've seen throughout the rest of this competition. We're going to parade all of the divers together, I believe, so that once we actually get into the finals, we can just keep going through the competitions.
Now, for the juniors, this is an interesting challenge again, just like their prelim was, because normally they would do 5 optionals for the boys, 4 optionals for the girls in their individual junior events, but here they're doing a full kind of senior list, so 6 optionals for the boys, 5 optionals for the girls. So they're maybe doing a dive that might not be included in their junior list, might give them a few more options, something they can potentially work on when it comes to the international junior competitions, because they've got to try a few different things and maybe do something that they're not so comfortable with in these events. So it'll be interesting to see how they cope with that.
Definitely. No, it's exciting. I mean, ultimately, this is what we've been waiting for, isn't it?
Absolutely, yep. Finals, that's what we want.
And the judges, they're getting their moment now. They've been working incredibly hard all weekend. We mentioned before, it's tough to be a judge. And we've had most of these guys judging through most of the competitions. It can be difficult, so their little moment of glory.
Yeah.
We can thank them all. We can see Tony Alley, he's walking out first. an appropriate person to lead the way.
Absolutely, and they deserve it, you know. Like, as we mentioned, judging is difficult, and in a subjective sport, their opinions and their choices, their decisions that they make throughout the event will dictate the outcome.
It will. You're absolutely right.
It's not all down to the athlete. You know, the athlete has to present themselves as best as possible, but it comes down to what the judges decide they want to give the dive.
Exactly. That was Susie Bamba there, Sarah Barrow, and Camille Bowden. And that was Malcolm Green and James. And we had Hugo Ordonez, Haley Sage. And finally, Emily Saunders. Those were all of our judges. Yep, so it's, as I say, it's nice for those guys to get a moment in the spotlight. They have a very important job, of course. And now we will be witnessing the athletes. So as mentioned, this is all of the athletes in the junior finals, both men and women's 3-meter, men and women's platform. Lots of smiles,
of course,
lots of confident-looking
faces. 4 divers in each event, which is unusual for a final. Normally there's at least 6, and it can go as high as 12 when it comes to the international major competitions. So to have just 4, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fast-paced. It's going to be fast-paced.
So the first diver in the first event, the junior men's 3-meter, Hugo Thomas for Great Britain. Our second star in that event is Maxwell Miller for Team USA. The third star also for Team USA, Joshua Sollenberger. And the fourth and final start in the junior men's 3-meter final, Leon Baker for Great Britain also. And for the junior women's platform final, start number 1 for England, that's Grace Ali. And the second start for this event, Bailey Sturgill, she is representing the United States. And the third start, Hannah Newbrook for Great Britain. And of course, the fourth and final start, Jaden Lynch for Team USA. And this is the junior men's platform final starts. Jordan Fisher-Eames for England. And the next start is Tyler Wills for Team USA. Start 3 is Robbie Lee for Great Britain. And start number 4 is Carson Paul, but he's obviously not in the lineup right now. Perhaps he's still getting himself ready. We've had very quick breaks in this event, so maybe he's just finishing off his food. But I hope we get to watch Carson dive. For the girls' 3-meter event, the junior women's 3-meter final, Maya Kuti for England. The second start is Avery Warabel for USA. Also for the USA is Bailey Sturgill in start number 3. But again, she isn't in this lineup, but she's actually further down. Obviously, very, very talented athlete is Bailey, doing all the events. And our fourth and final start, Evie Smith for Great Britain in the junior women's 3-meter final.
Here we go.
Here we go.
So this is going to test the athletes' routines in between each dive. So each athlete will have their own routine, how they go about spending their time in between each dive, getting ready and preparing for each dive, but they're not going to have the time to do all the things that they normally do. I've been thinking about this myself. What am I going to do in between each dive? I normally like to take my time, stand in the shower, do some run-throughs, some drills, get my coaching comment, and then go up and do my dive, but I'm not going to have time to do all of that. So how do you think the athletes are going to cope? What would you do in this situation when it's just 4 divers?
I think naturally I would like this. I think naturally I would enjoy that because the biggest strength for this for me would be far less opportunity to overthink.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think I would enjoy that. It would keep my intensity going. My body would be warm and ready every time. So I would enjoy that. The problem is, yeah, it is maybe too fast. I think my heart rate would be a little bit too high.
Yeah.
So it would actually be trying to, rather than go for that. It would actually be trying to bring that down.
Yeah, because that will add to the adrenaline that you've already got, you know, that extra energy that you've already got. And it's important to keep yourself calm when you're stood on the board, because you don't want to just race down and use all the energy that you've got, because it'll probably result in, you know, over execution of the dive.
Yeah.
So you got to find a way to control your breathing, control your mindset to be able to get on that board, focus, and do the dive and execute it in the way that you've trained to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting challenge, and this is the list of competitions that we have coming up in this session. That is session 5 of the Futures Cup. So as mentioned, this is all of the junior finals. There's the men's junior 3-meter springboard final. That is what we have coming up first, followed by the women's junior platform final. It will be followed by the women's junior 3-meter springboard final. And then our last junior final of the Futures Cup will be the men's junior platform final. So once the 3-meter men are ready, Hugo will make his way up to the 3-meter springboard. So the specific judges for this event are just taking those places. So earlier we saw the parade for the judges. In fact, that is actually all of the judges who will be judging throughout this entire session. That's why we had some slight issues with the order of the judges we have. But I can now tell you that on screen we have judge number 1, Tony Alley, on the left. Number 2 is Hugo Ordonez, and number 3, Emily Saunders. They are in position, they are ready. There are, of course, 4 more judges that we have on the opposite side of the pool. We can see them there. Judge number 4 from the USA, Camille Bowden. And number 5, Susie Bamber, taking a nice judge's selfie there. You gotta love it. You're never too old for a selfie.
No, definitely not.
Clearly.
Definitely not.
Clearly. Maybe we need a selfie owner. Number 6, oh, I've already had a few.
Yeah, we had a few, mate. We don't need to do that anymore.
And number 6, Diane Mays, and number 7, Sarah Barrow. The referee for this event is Malcolm Green. And so Hugo is ready.
We are ready to go.
The competition are ready. We saw the required dives this morning, but now we are back to the optional round of dives. This is as high a degree of difficulty as they can comfortably perform, as they are confident enough to perform. This is Hugo's opening dive, the inward 2.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Awesome start there from Hugo, really great, really great. He stayed over the board really confidently, maybe pushed his hips slightly backwards so he didn't get as much height as he could have on that start, but found his way around, saw the water, and got his body into a nice line, held the splash down. Great start.
Yeah, let's hope that's a sign of things to come from all the competitors.
Dive number 2, same dive from Maxwell Miller.
It's clean and tidy, but he struggled with the rotation a little bit there. He always looked like he was fighting to try and carry that dive around.
Yeah, it was a similar issue to Hugo in that he pushed his hips slightly too far backwards, away from the end of the board. You can see those hips just going away, but he didn't get the turnover. He didn't aggressively attack the start as much as Hugo did, which is why he just dropped that tiny little bit short.
But by no means a big miss. He's still very much in this. Our third start, Joshua Sollenberger, our second diver for Team USA. That's a good start.
Great opening dive there from Joshua. Nice hurdle, great positioning. A little bit of a loss of the feet form as he checked out of his twist. But I think he's managed to get away with it and touch soft on the entry. Solid opening dive. Great start to the competition.
I'm sure that Leon, perhaps he wishes that he could have kept his score from the preliminary and the semi-final rounds. Maybe all of the winners, it's a clear advantage, isn't it? But that's not the case. Everyone starts from 0.
Exactly. Wow.
But he'll have the confidence from those previous rounds, and he's showing that already.
You know, he's shown himself that he can dive well, so he just needs to maintain the focus on what he's been doing, try and do the same things over and over again. And there we go, another excellent start to the competition. Maybe a little bit shoulders falling back, and actually for me it's good to sit and watch these junior guys do their optionals, because when they last did them I was competing, so I didn't really get to see too much. So it's cool to sit here and watch and see what they can really do.
Yep. And I think especially still in a senior level, of course, but particularly for a junior event, 70 points is a good benchmark, isn't it?
Absolutely.
For a dive? And we saw Leon achieving that right there.
Definitely.
So Hugo's second dive, forward 3.5 somersaults.
Taking his time to just compose himself there before his hurdle, which is well within his right to do. Once the whistle goes, he can then take his time to go. He doesn't have to go immediately. And there you go, managed to control his emotions. Make sure you got a good hurdle and a good direction on that start.
Great takeoff.
Touch over on the end. Touch over on the end, but really easy dive. And great scores to go with. Great to see this second angle, just to show a slow motion replay.
And how much time he actually had to spot the dive. He could have been a
Exactly.
bit more controlled and composed there just to get even bigger scores.
These two matching each other dive for dive in the first 2 rounds. And again, Hugo just slightly out-diving Maxwell there. You can see Maxwell ended up a little bit low on the water.
Yeah, just running out of room a little bit there for Maxwell. And to his teammate Joshua, same dive. It's good.
Now, there's a little bit of a twist right at the bottom, and it'd be interesting to see, maybe we can see from this angle why that happens, and the way that he extends his arm into the grab. Looks like one arm just moves slightly quicker than the other. So it just carries his body sideways a tiny little bit through the water, but maybe it's not something that the judges will pick on or deduct.
And of course, the judges, they only get one look at the dives.
Exactly.
Like us, they don't get the replay. But yeah, whether or not you can spot both of the legs. But nevertheless, a good dive from Josh. Same dive for Leon.
Excellent finish there from Leon. I thought his technique into the lineup was a little bit unusual. He grabbed his hands before he fully extended his body. However, that didn't matter because he managed to get a great line in the end and get the dive down. You can just see here, arms, and he's still in a bit of a pike shape as he grabs his hands right behind his ears. So it just has the effect that it rolls into the water a tiny little bit, whereas if he extended his body, showed that form, and then extended through, it might have been a slightly cleaner entry.
I think the judges really enjoyed the power and the fluidity.
Yeah, and you said dynamic movements earlier for Leon, and that's definitely the case in these optionals as well. But you can definitely see the divers literally getting straight up onto the board. You can see the two in the background just preparing for their dives,
They're
waiting.
already ready.
So they've pretty much done their dives and gone straight back up the board, maybe gone to their coach to get a comment. But Hugo, again, just taking his time before approaching his hurdle step.
That's a big dive at 3.4 degree of difficulty, so a good opportunity for Hugo. It's a good execution. We have to remember that they're juniors. Obviously, there was more left on the entry, wasn't there, Yona? But with that degree of difficulty, that still takes into a good score. It's solid. And as Hugo progresses in his career, he'll start to finesse things like that. It's clear that that can be a very high-scoring dive for him.
Absolutely, and in the senior game, the double out is one of the lower degree of difficulty dives, but still very valuable if you can execute it well. So something to work on.
That's a little bit of a shame for Maxwell. Not a big drop, but I really enjoyed that dive in the air.
Yeah, lovely pike shape, lovely direction and good height. Just a little bit high with his feet on the press.
Just missing that opportunity to get those 8s and above, because the beginning of the dive was deserving of that. And the same dive for Joshua. Back 2.5 pike. We saw this in the preliminary round. It's clear that Josh likes to make this dive very steep. It's a bit too steep.
It's a little bit too steep, and he just needs to reach those arms a little bit more behind his ears. And just you see there when he pressed out, his feet weren't far away from the board, which could potentially pose a bit of an issue. A little bit more extension on that start helps the turnover and helps the end.
Leon now reverse 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twist. This is another complicated dive, as you will see.
Complicated, you say, but I think it's one of his favorite dives because he's very consistent on it, and that wasn't one of his best executions, but it's still really good for a competition dive.
Easy though.
So easy.
Comfortable. That's what's so impressive.
And you have to create so much rotation coming off the board in order to let the rest of the dive flow. Repiking and working through that pike shape, a little bit of a separation in the legs, but it's quite challenging to get that. But he's got so much time to finish that off.
So much time. But he is looking very good. That's a nice execution, and with the degree of difficulties, just adding up those scores.
And now you can really see how quickly this competition is going with only 4 divers. Back to Hugo again. It feels like he was just on the board.
We're halfway through already.
Not bad there from Hugo, not bad. A little bit loose as he pushed into the board on the takeoff, just pushing the hips a little bit too far forward. And again, similar through the water, just a little bit loose.
It's a very comfortable dive for Hugo. And in those situations, you're hopeful that those dives that are more comfortable, that are easier, you can really make the most of having that extra time. Because judges like that. When you have space and time, it adds to the finesse of a dive.
Absolutely.
Same dive now, but in the tuck position.
And that's what you're talking about, the finesse. Obviously a little bit easier, 0.2 down in terms of degree of difficulty, but beautiful press out, really sharp movements, and good entry. Of course, could have been a little bit cleaner, but the judges enjoyed watching that one.
I want to take this time out to give a shout out to Edwin Yongyongs, who is, we've been told, is watching the live stream. Thanks for your support, Edwin. Edwin, as a 3-meter springboard diving legend, and actually was your coach for a long time, wasn't he?
My old coach, the man who took me. Well, he actually found me in school in 2004, and took me all the way to the Rio 2016 Olympics. So, thanks, Ed.
Let's go, Josh.
No! Oh, what a start! That was huge on the start.
Shame. He set that up nicely. He was a bit toes over, but he liked it. It was high. But maybe he wasn't ready for that.
Looking from this angle, you can just see that he throws his head back a little bit on that start as he collects into the shape, so he just loses that awareness. Then it's just a guess really on the out. He's lined up, and it's just a completely wrong place. But you know, in those difficult moments, of course, he'll learn, and he knows exactly what he needs to work on now going forward on that dive. I've been through that a number of times. It's a really challenging dive. Really, really tough, especially at that age. Like, I don't think I was doing it at this age either.
No, me neither.
To be fair.
No, that is impressive. We have to remind ourselves, Josh is still a junior. We have to remind ourselves with Leon as well.
Of course, and I think this is one of his weaker dives actually, but he's shown some real strength in there. He just fell away from the board a little bit, just that distance, but he did a good job of pressing out and stopping the rotation to make sure it landed upright on his head and minimize the loss of points on that dive. There we go. Hugo just taking a little bit longer each time to get on that board, and that's the speed of the competition. That's that fatigue maybe coming through.
But again, it is good to see that because he's just doing what he feels like he needs to do. He's got the sort of focus to ignore the speed of the event and just take things at his pace, within reason.
Of course. But as I say, the diver controls the referee. The diver can control when they go. So it's completely up to them. Obviously, you can't take like 5 minutes to go because that's a bit ridiculous, but you can take your time, you can take a breath, make sure you're focused and thinking about the right things. And it's paying dividends right now for Hugo. He's doing some excellent diving in this final. Another fantastic dive, reverse 2.5 somersaults with 1.5 twist. And actually managed to execute it a little bit better there than Leon.
Yeah,
even though he runs out of time a little bit quicker. Gets so much height on that start. Time to look at the water, touch over, but lovely dive.
Yeah, really good stuff. Well, Maxwell has been very clever there to sneak that dive in. That's a difficult dive, not just doing one twist, but 2 twists. But he twists very quickly, and that's why he's able to finish that dive well. It's good work from Maxwell, just a little bit scruffy through the feet.
But really quick through his twists, so he flicks a little bit late maybe, but he's so fast through his twists that he still has time to come around and have a look at the water.
Well done, Josh. He's come back from a difficult dive in the round before, a challenging thing for him, and he's kept composed.
Tough hurdle there, landing right in the corner of the board. You'll be able to see it from this angle, right in the corner. But still holding his tension, making it go straight up, and getting a reasonable end on the dive. And here's another big dive for the juniors, a reverse 3.5 tuck from Leon.
It's the same dive we saw from Josh, where we saw the big mistake. I wonder if Leon was aware of that at the time, but he'll be very focused, I'm sure.
Oh, class.
Sensational.
Unbelievable. And that's what we want to see in the final. That little bit of extra adrenaline.
Awesome.
9s from the judges. So high, such great balance, beautiful form, and what an entry. Awesome, Leon. 91 points. That's huge.
Hats off to you, Leon Baker. That's an excellent dive. That's a world-class dive. And you've successfully made this an incredibly exciting event. Well done, Leon Baker. Now it's over to his synchro partner to follow that.
Kicking off the final round of this junior men's 3-meter final. The back 2.5 somersaults piked, currently sat in 2nd place. It's a shame. That's a shame. It's a good start, really strong start.
He's very good at this dive as well, isn't he?
It looked like he just rushed a little bit on the lineup there. Could have just waited, make sure he looks back, sees the water first, then sharp with his arms to make it land on his head.
Because it was there.
Exactly.
The start, the come out, I believe that could have been right if he'd have taken advantage of it. So Maxwell's biggest dive. We said before he's a good twister. I think we'll see that again now.
Oh, well played. Watch his hurdle here, toes right over the end of the board. Almost delayed his takeoff just to make sure he waited for the board to lift him up, but so quick through those twists.
He sets that up steep. He twists fast, but he controls it.
And then the work through the repike to make sure he had enough time to get his line on the water.
Really strong finish from Max.
Great job
well
there.
Dives overall. Josh's last dive, the inward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Now,
nicely done.
This is a relatively easier dive for the junior men. Of course, having an inward 2.5 tuck in the list with a reverse 3.5 tuck, you'd probably expect this dive in the pike shape, but maybe it's just something that he's still working on, not quite got on lock yet, so maybe a good decision just to go with something a little bit safer, something a little bit more comfortable that he can execute well, which he did.
I bet Leon is pumped right now. He'll be trying to control his energy for his last dive.
Wow.
Wow. Leon really starting to make a name for himself.
Outstanding performance, 454 points as a junior male. That is outstanding.
I'm a little bit speechless, actually.
That is class. 4.54 as a junior.
That's a big score, even for a senior athlete. In some events, that can put you in the medals on the world stage.
Absolutely.
Leon has achieved that as a junior, but actually looking back, thinking back to his dives, there's no surprise.
No, absolutely not. And that's over 100-point improvement from his prelim. Over 100-point improvement. So that shows his real class. And that shows what the adrenaline of a final, the energy of a final, the final vibe.
Final vibe.
That's
also,
what it can give to you.
The judges rewarding.
Absolutely,
in this competition.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that's what we want, that's what we expect. It's more difficult in the earlier rounds, but the judges, they wanted that final energy. With the way the divers were diving, you know, they got what they wanted, and I think also they helped to create that energy by rewarding excellent diving.
Certainly, absolutely. Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's sensational stuff. We'll have the results any moment now. I don't think we need to announce the winner.
No, I think it's pretty clear who took that one. But wow, that was fantastic from Leon. I'm glad that the junior and senior are separate.
You'd have had a fight on your hands there, Yona. What do you think? You'd have pipped him?
No, we'll see. I won't be announcing that anytime soon, so we will see.
Yeah, but obviously it's great to see. It's great to see that the future of British diving is so strong.
Definitely, especially on Springboard. Especially on Springboard. It's an event that I obviously love, an event that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's good to see these young divers doing some big dives.
Well, that's it as well. They're not playing it safe.
Well.
They're taking chances, but chances that they're very capable of.
Absolutely.
So I think we'll just have a quick look at some of the best dives. Obviously, going to feature Leon pretty strongly here. That was his opening dive.
Yeah, you could see the confidence. You could see the confidence right there from the start. He knew exactly what he was trying to do.
And he just kept going.
Yeah.
Didn't he? He kept improving, building. His synchro partner, Hugo, also with a good event.
Yeah, really strong event, actually.
You know, we mustn't disregard that. That's a hard dive, that's a big dive, and he put it in well. This is Maxwell's reverse 2.5. This was a very elegant dive.
Lovely technique on that press out. He got straight into his line. Really class.
Yeah, it's good to see.
And I mean, I just want to see the reverse 3.5 again, and hopefully we'll get it right here.
I think that might be it now.
Here we go.
Yes.
Look at this. Look how high this goes. Absolutely flying in the air. So much time, so much composure. Beautiful line through the water, good form.
So much time. Awesome stuff. Congratulations. We are ready with the results. In 4th place, unfortunately for Joshua Sollenberger, not the competition he would have been hoping for, but we can see his potential. 302.95 in 3rd position. Maxwell Miller, 388.4. That's a very solid score, but only just in front. Hugo Thomas, 390.5. So very close between those two. Almost breaking 400, both of those competitors.
Yeah. Getting near 400 is fantastic.
For Group A junior divers. But of course, the talking point of that event, Leon Baker for Great Britain, 454.65 points. And that is also 10 points for Great Britain for the team trophy.
And also, let's look at this now, you know. People from all around the world are watching this event right now. So Leon's just given a real good marker for some of his competitors around the world, because we've got people watching in Australia. We just mentioned my coach, Edwin. Also, AD's having to watch as well alongside him.
Don't worry, buddy. We got you.
But you know, that's great for Leon. That'll give him real confidence going into the later competitions this season, because, as I say, people around the world will be watching with this live stream.
International divers, international coaches watching what these juniors are capable of. You know, they'll be keeping a mental note. We're just getting a full speed playback of the dives we saw. This is the reverse 3.5 again.
Oh, class. So good.
Yes, I could watch that.
It's such a good feeling when you do that dive well, isn't it?
When it goes well, it's maybe the best feeling.
It's a really, really hard dive, especially to train, but when it goes right. And just to finish off, really early into that twist, sharp, dynamic movements, good form, a little bit chin down in the end, a little bit over on the hurdle as well, actually, but outstanding performance from Leon there. Really impressive.
And probably we can see as he progresses, it won't be too difficult for him to add an extra twist
Exactly.
onto that.
And that's the upgrade that he's going to be looking for.
And we are ready for the junior women's platform final. So, of course, making their way up the towers, our first athlete will be Grace Ali. Again, because this is the junior final, we'll see a combination of boards being used. As with this is called the platform final. It's mostly it will be 10 meter, but we have a couple of dives, a handful of dives on the 7.5 meter platform as well. But we will begin on the 10 meter platform. Grace Ali.
Now, as we spoke about earlier with the junior boys and junior girls having to do an extra dive in their list compared to what they normally do in a junior event, this is why we're seeing a reverse dive from Grace, because this is what it's taking for her to just fulfill the conditions of the event, because she has to cover 5 different groups. So bringing the required into the final is just what she's doing to make sure she fulfills the requirements and is able to compete.
And to build a full list of dives, particularly on platform, it takes years of work. It takes a lot. Each dive has a huge process behind it to make it happen. So especially for junior athletes, a lot of the time you actually just don't have the time to get all of the dives that you would want ready. And that was our second diver, Bailey. Say one of the busiest athletes we've seen this weekend. That was her inward 2.5 tuck from the 7.5 meter platform. A great job. She's very consistent.
She is really.
She's always there or thereabouts.
And she looks like she's a good competitor as well, because, you know, I've watched elements of her training and it's not been as sharp as it is in competition, but she clearly knows how to turn it on in competition, which is a great strength to have.
Well, that's true, because you can see that going both ways, can't
Absolutely.
you? I know there are people who, like Bailey, often they excel in competition, but also it can go the other way. I remember you talking about Angus, for example. Some of the dives you saw him doing in training, sensational, and not what you were maybe hoping to see in the actual event necessarily. But that was Hannah Newbrook's first dive, inward 2.5 somersaults pike. Again, Hannah, she's impressed me as well.
Just leaving that dive a touch short there, unfortunately, but a good strong start. But yeah, as you say, you know, sometimes it's not easy to convert what you do in training into competition, but it's something that can be worked on. It's something that can be improved. That's not just the way that it is. You know, you can work on it, and it takes experience to be able to do that.
Ooh, almost. We know the kind of rip entries that Jaden is capable of. It was nearly there.
Just lacked a little bit of composure on the come out, a little bit more tension, patience on the lineup to make sure she finished the dive off strongly, but a shame there from Jaden. Now moving into round 2 with Grace up on the 10 meter, and now starting her program of optionals. So these are likely dives that she will use in her junior list, the last 4 dives. These will be her junior optionals. Here with the back 2.5 somersaults piked. And that was outstanding.
That was a really good dive. That back 2.5 pike on 10 meter is one of the dives we've seen often people missing because it's difficult to control. That has not been an issue for Grace at all. She's found exactly where she needs to be, and it was a solid entry into the water.
Exactly, and in comparison with Jaden, that's the composure she pressed early. I thought it was a little bit too early, but she was patient, she held, she waited, spotted the water, stayed tight all the way through.
Well done, Grace. That's one of the first drops we actually seen. Sorry, Bailey, we have done the classic there.
Yeah.
As we refer to it, the commentator's curse. She's over-rotated quite a lot there. Maybe not expecting to have that space on the dive.
Just looked a touch rushed off the board into the twist. Maybe take her time into that. And that'll give her a better drop onto the end, but regardless, she's still doing fantastic to make 2 finals, so she can take that experience, bounce back on the next dive, and continue battling out for a medal.
Absolutely, and you still never know what's going to happen. That's a great dive from Hannah. It's unlikely to see her miss that dive. It is more simple, but it's executed very well.
With good technique, and she'll be surely looking to build on that towards doing the forward 3.5 somersaults piked on 10 meter. But of course, as we've said, these are only juniors, so this will come in due course.
Exactly.
Now we have Jaden up on the 10 meter with a forward 3.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Now it's a little bit open in that tuck shape.
Yeah, you want to see it, you squeeze as tight as possible, don't you? That helps to accelerate the somersault speed.
Absolutely. You can see in this second angle, she doesn't get too much height from the board. She tries to do the right thing on the come up, but from the start, is just struggling to make it all the way around, and unfortunately just dropping a touch short there. Moving swiftly through into round 3. Back with Grace.
Yeah, already
10 meter.
We are back to Grace Alley in with 2.5 somersaults piked.
And as we say, these divers must be literally sprinting up the stairs.
It's one thing on 3 meters, another thing for 10 meter. There must be.
It's like a cardio set.
It is.
But even though that diving is, you know, kind of just one explosive movement, the cardio element is very important because, you know, in training we'll be doing 40, 50 dives in the session in an hour and a half. So you got to have good
and
cardio strength.
You need to sustain the energy.
Absolutely, and the better your cardiovascular system is, the better the quality maintains throughout an entire session, and then you can replicate it in competitions such as this. But good job there from Grace.
Yeah, she's showing her stability and her energy. It's a good dive from her. Great sound on the entry to the water. Just a slight over-rotation is all.
Now we haven't seen this technique yet into the arm stand, the cartwheel up, so we'll get to see it in the replay.
Yeah, it's a brave beginning to an arm stand dive, and it's a brave dive as well.
It is. I'd say it's a more old school way of getting up into the handstand.
Yeah.
But this is a big dive for a junior to be doing, the arm stand back triple somersaults. Needs a little bit more power in the pop from the arm stand to the tuck shape to help the rotation. But she did a good job on staying patient, kicking up to the roof. And
yeah, despite even being in a handstand, you still need to jump, don't you? And you see that push coming from the arms. It's where the strength is very important in all aspects of diving.
Maybe she got inspiration from, I think Laura Wilkinson used to do the cartwheel up to the handstand, so maybe she's been watching videos of Laura Wilkinson from back in the day.
If there's anyone to inspire you for women's platform, why not Laura Wilkinson?
Yeah, she wasn't bad, was she? She
Absolutely.
was all right. She did some hard dives.
So this is, again, where this dive is difficult. It's hard to control, and that's why we were very impressed with Grace's attempt at this. Hannah not being able to stop the dive on the end.
Just see her shoulders going backwards on the takeoff rather than up, which is then why she wasn't able to stop the rotation on the end. Just drifting slightly past vertical.
And Jaden's third dive. This is a nice dive to watch.
Absolutely. When it's executed well, it looks really nice. Unfortunately, just coming out of the pike shape, lost a little bit of tension in the lower back, so the heels didn't quite stop, slightly over-rotating.
It's hard to control isn't it, that dive?
Yeah, you need to feel almost really stuck, like a back jump straight on that start before wrapping into your twist.
And then that can then make it difficult to attack the twist, to make the twist still fast.
Exactly. So there's a balance to find between, you know, speed and control.
So round 4 of 5, our first diver, Grace Ali. Back arm stand, double somersault, piked. So really, these arm stand dives, this is kind of the same dive as the back 2.5 somersaults piked, but from her hands. Obviously, you remove half a somersault, but it's a similar degree of difficulty, and the feeling once you're in the air is similar.
Absolutely. You'll be pressing out in a similar place, doing a very similar thing on the lineup, and it's clearly a technique that she's very strong and very comfortable with.
She's very clever, isn't she, Grace? Clearly, this is one of her strengths. Grace's father, Tony Ali, he was very famous as back and reverse spinning somersaults. He's clearly given that attribute to his daughter.
So you're saying that back and reverse are in the genes? They pass on in the genes?
Clearly. And another very intense dive from Bailey.
Wow.
You've got to give her credit.
Yeah, no, fair play. Now, the start wasn't as strong as I'd like. But again, just like her arm stand triple, she stayed patient. She fed her feet up towards the roof and then reached her arms back. Even though she couldn't quite finish the lineup, she was able to get the dive to a vertical enough position to get reasonable marks from the judges, which is great for this dive.
And ultimately, she looks comfortable.
Yeah, she doesn't look worried.
Difficult dives. Obviously, you know, you never know what's going on inside an athlete's mind, but she looks, comfortable and happy to attack these more difficult dives.
Yeah, she's approaching them with confidence. There seems to be no fear there. She's really approaching them with confidence, and that can only build. You know, as a junior female doing these dives, that can only build. Imagine in 3-4 years' time, or even further in the distance, looking towards the LA cycle, 2028. You know, she's had 6-7 years of working on these dives. Imagine what level they could be at.
So it's a name we're expecting to be able to see in the future. That's a good dive from Hannah, but really, as the name suggests, the Futures Cup, that's sort of what this competition is for. I know we have senior athletes, but mostly it's a good opportunity for the young athletes to compete, and it's the divers we're expecting to do big things in the future.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that these junior athletes are getting the platform to, pardon the pun, to display their skills.
In 30 minutes' time, you can say the same thing, but the springboard.
The springboard, the springboard to success. Oh, dear. But yeah, no, honestly, it's good to see the juniors getting this platform to do this, and but also alongside the senior divers, so they can get to see what the standard is and what the expectation is in the future. But also, you know, put themselves up against some more difficult competition.
We are now beginning round 5. Of course, our first diver who's been on superb form so far, Grace Ali. Back 2.5 somersaults with a half twist. She's been lower across her list on degree of difficulty, but she's taken full advantage of all of her execution. And once again,
I'm really impressed with the improvement on Grace's entries, to be honest. Every one of them has been really, really, really solid. Even the required. Fantastic work.
She did a required dive, a reverse dive, at a low degree of difficulty. She was 23 points off making 300.
It's very impressive.
If she's able to get that reverse 2.5 into the list,
yeah,
she's potentially got a 300 list there.
And we've clearly seen how comfortable and competent she is with the back and reverse entries. As we say, it passes in the genes from her father.
Exactly. Some things just often work that way. Bailey doing the dive we're talking about, Grace been able to do soon, the reverse 2.5 somersaults. She has jumped a little bit too far forward. Yep, we'll be on the 10-meter platform for Hannah when she is ready with a back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists. We did say that because there are only 4 divers in this event, it's difficult. And Hannah just making sure
quite rightly
she's ready, that she's not too out of breath. You have to be fully composed to give maximum explosive power, don't you?
Quite rightly, you know, it's a lot to walk up all these stairs 5 times in a really short space of time. You know, don't underestimate just the walking element of it. You know, climbing flights of stairs, and the 10 meters is very high.
And in a competition with more athletes on the platform, they sort of slowly trickle up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, maybe one diver goes by, they take a few stairs, they go up to 3 meters.
Yeah.
A couple more divers make their way up to 5. Not the case with this event.
No, you're right. That's a very good point. But Hannah doing right there to just take her time into her last dive. Just drifting a touch over, but it's a really strong start. It's a really strong jump. There's plenty of time to make that dive.
Yeah.
Now it's just a case of learning how to execute it a little bit more sharply than that.
Her most difficult dive, most complicated dive, choosing to finish on that one. I've been impressed with Hannah's work over this weekend.
Yeah, no, likewise. And moving on to the final dive of the final round, we've absolutely blazed through the competition. It's just flown by. We have Jaden up on the 10 meter with the reverse 2.5 somersaults tuck. And again, she just needs a little bit more work on these optionals so that she can add the rip entry that we know that she can do.
I mean, if she does get that dive down with the rip entry that she's capable of, it's going to be sensational.
Absolutely.
Well, big congratulations to our junior women's platform finalists.
2 down.
2 finals down for the juniors. 2 more to go, of course.
Bailey, of course, straight into 3 meter preparation.
I think that's Grace Ali there on screen. She'll be really, really pleased. Obviously, the rest of her teammates congratulating her. Rightly so. She did a great performance.
And there we see a direct comparison of emotions. Obviously, Jaden a little bit upset with her performance, but
particularly she went into that event winning, but you started again from 0, and so
exactly,
you know, she was just pipped in that one. But she's been incredibly busy also. She's been competing a lot.
Yeah. She would have gained a lot from this weekend, regardless of this result. But you know, it is a shame to see the emotion, especially when it's negative. But you know, that's sport, and that's what happens, and that's why we do it. Because, of course, it hurts when you feel the negative emotions like that, when you've not performed as well as you want. But it's all worth it when you have the successful performances and you feel the positive emotions and the happiness and the joy that comes with that.
Definitely. So we're going to take a quick look at some of the highlights. We could put highlights of all of Grace's dives. 3 meter. And so we're looking at Bailey there, here with 2.5 somersaults on the 7.5 meter platform. That was her first dive. This was also Hannah's first dive. Really, really impressed with all of these. And one of Grace's best dive, the back contact double somersaults piked. So doing her father proud there. We do have the scores up on the board. In 4th place, she was disappointed. We can understand why. 216.45, Jaden Lynch. We've seen some great stuff from her, but just not her best competition. But in 3rd place, 250.7 is Bailey Sturgill, getting a bronze medal. And in the silver medal position, Hannah Newbrook, 259.65 for Great Britain. But our winner, even with a required dive, Grace Ali for England, 277.1.
Outstanding performance there from Grace. Really high quality.
I mean,
Wonderful
we saw
diving.
when we had that little clip of Grace down on poolside, she looked slightly shocked, I would say. Surprised. She probably didn't expect, with the list of dives that she was competing with and the caliber of athletes that she was up against, that she would be coming out as the champion. But if you don't miss a dive, you really lay down the gauntlet for the rest of the athletes. They have to perform well. If they mess up, you're going to be up there, and that's what's happened today.
Absolutely, and Grace came into that final as the lowest ranked diver, you know, but everyone starts from zero.
Yep.
So no matter what, you've got to execute in the final, and you can't take it for granted.
And particularly when there are only 4 divers as well, that, of course, gives more opportunity.
This is a great sequence of dives, just some of the best highlights from this event. Quick fire, about as quick as the competition went.
Yeah, by in a flash, but awesome stuff. Well done once again to all of the junior women's platform finalists and all of the competitors we saw in the semi-final and the preliminary rounds. It's been great. As we say, this competition is called the Futures Cup. So the primary reason being giving these junior athletes an opportunity to compete on a world stage, but also a more comfortable one. And we can see we've got Bailey already.
Straight into training.
She's straight into the 3-meter event.
Tough.
Yeah, she's a tough cookie, clearly. I say we have another 4 divers coming up in the junior women's 3-meter final. And this was a very, very close semi-final. So let's see what happens once we put all of these athletes back to 0 and what the results are going to be like. Once again, we're going to fly through this. Perhaps it's going to be even quicker because we're on the 3-meter springboard.
Yeah, and we have a reasonably well-matched set of dives as well. You know, there's only a few differences. A couple of divers doing a forward 2.5 somersaults piked rather than the forward 3.5. And just the one diver, Maya, choosing to do the inward 2.5 somersaults piked rather than inward 2.5 somersaults tucked. So there's not going to be that much disparity between degree of difficulties across the whole list. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to execution.
Absolutely. So just reminding everyone, start number 1 in this competition will be Maya Kuti for England. Start number 2, Avery Warabell for Team USA. She did a great job to get herself into this final.
Absolutely, as we said, the one and only diver who managed to pull it back after a below par prelim and use a high quality set of requires to make it through to the final. So great work done by Avery.
And then our 3rd start, we've just seen her in the platform event, Bailey Sturgill for Team USA, and finally the 4th start, Evie Smith for Great Britain.
And the judges are just taking their seats, getting themselves ready for the start of this girls' 3-meter event. Just missing one judge on the far side, and then we can get ready to go.
It's always difficult to round up the judges, isn't it? Come on, guys.
We need a shepherd. a shepherd for judges.
Yeah, a diving sheepdog. That would be fun. I mean, we had the Velociraptor yesterday.
Maybe the Velociraptor can be used to gather the judges.
Well, guys, Yona and I have officially lost it. I think we need to be replaced. We've been talking about dinosaurs again.
Oh gosh.
Why don't we talk about diving?
Yeah, let's hope the dinosaur doesn't make another appearance. But here we go. We're ready to start with Maya.
Maya is ready, fortunately. So Maya Kuti for England, back to an somersaults with tuck.
Wow, great start there from Maya. Very nice. A touch far away from the boards. But she did a great job of kicking up in a strong knee save under the water to keep the splash down. You can see this angle just slightly falling away. But good dive, great start.
It's nice. She has a nice style to her diving.
She does, she does. Here we go, our outstanding performer from this morning's semi-finals, Avery.
Oh, like
wow.
confident.
She's maintained the level of execution on this particular dive, one that she's clearly really comfortable with. Beautiful execution.
Really excellent dive. It is more simple, but she's taken advantage of that.
Exactly, you know, slightly lower degree of difficulty dive compared to the 4.3.5 that Evie and Maya will be using, but she's executed it well, so the difference in the score might not be too big. And there we see the challenge with this particular dive. Easier, but easier to rotate on, make a small mistake. And when you perform it like this, it's quite unforgiving.
It is. It must be difficult for Bailey to go from doing a back 3.5 somersaults with tuck on the 10-meter board about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, literally.
To then do a forward 2.5 somersaults pike on the 3-meter springboard.
I mean, the adrenaline must be totally out of control because she's been going. There's not even been a break in between each dive on 10-meter, and it's going to be the same now here on 3-meter. Just diving, no break, no break. But it's a challenge, and she's going to have to step up and try and manage herself for the rest of the competition.
Well, it's a strong takeoff from Evie. She got the dive moving. She wasn't quite able to fully control it.
It looked like she just took off with her head down a little bit too much. And then similar thing on the out, just chin down a little bit and wasn't able to stop the rotation, just drifting over past vertical.
And into round 2. Back to Maya. Reverse 2.5 tucked.
Whoa,
wow.
Lovely. Really nice dive from Maya. Excellent. Yeah, you're right. Lovely style through her dive.
So
great
good.
touch shape. Lovely strong kick out.
70 points on a 2.8 degree of difficulty is something.
That's
that
decent,
was
isn't it?
really, really nicely done.
Really high. So much time on that dive. Plenty of time one day for that to be done in a pike shape.
Maya setting a bit of a precedent for this junior women's 3-meter final.
Shame there from Avery, just dropped slightly short. It was a really strong start, confident pike out.
I was expecting from the takeoff an incredible dive. It was almost there. It was a bit ambitious on the come out.
Just a touch. And that might be an adjustment due to the adrenaline that she felt. Probably felt a little bit quick on the start there. But again, beautiful form, great diving. Wow, this is where the adrenaline has helped her. It was too much for a 4.2.5 pike, but when you add a twist, it's just carried it nicely round to her head.
Yep, she snuck that one in. Clever diving from Bailey. So already we're back to Evie Smith, our 4th and final diver of round 2 of 5, with a forward 3.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
So this is where Evie holds an advantage over the 2 American divers with a slightly higher degree of difficulty. However, with higher degree of difficulty, you still need to execute it well. And that shows that, you know, Avery chose a slightly easier option, executed it really well. Evie just dropping a touch short on there.
I like the way she came out of the tuck shape in terms of the speed. She wanted to get her hands on it. It wasn't slow, but the body position was wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah, through the chest. And that's the challenge with the punch out sometimes, to keep the chest in so you can maintain the line. Whereas in the pike out, you're almost forced to keep your chest in. And she certainly has time to have a pike out on that. So maybe that's something she needs to consider.
Oh, that's a shame. That's Maya's joint most difficult dive. The first 2 dives we saw from her were beautiful. That's a tricky one, especially when you are spinning low.
Yeah, well, this is one that she executed really well in the prelim, and she looked really comfortable on it. And again, just maybe over-energized with that dive, a little bit too rushed into the shape and not quite ready for that to finish it off. Now we have Avery with a reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Wow, well played. She was falling forwards, nearly falling off the board. She managed to get the direction up, strong kick, and great line through the water. Look at her just drifting over, but managed to stop herself right in the end, get the direction.
Very clever.
A good knee save to hold the splashdown. Well done.
Well, we've seen 2 reverse 2.5s already in this competition, and both have been very strong.
And we'll see the final 2 in the next round. But first, Bailey with her back 2.5. Very good. She's very competent on the back and reverse spinning dives, isn't she?
And again, that probably feels like a walk in the park to her after doing 3.5 somersaults from 10 meter.
But also a testament for her ability to control it and kick out in the right place after just doing an extra somersault, coming down and bringing the somersault away. That shows that she's very comfortable with switching and doing different dives, and that's where skill chain work in training comes in really handily. You know, you work the skill chain every single dive, somersault, 1.5 double, and being aware of them all. It allows you to be able to adjust and change around just like Bailey has done there.
That's a better dive from Evie. She's done well there.
A little bit loose, as you can see from this angle, as she kicks out. A small adjustment, thinking maybe she's kicked out a touch early and was going to drop a little bit short, but she was able to make that small adjustment and find the hands on the water.
Perhaps that suggests a slight drop in confidence from the previous round. And that's how to do a comeback. Well done. Maya doesn't look phased at all.
That was really high.
Quick spin.
So much time to line up, but she managed to get that punch out just at the right time, spot the water, and hold on to the dive just as it drifted a touch over. We also have a back 2.5 somersaults piked from Avery. Wow, that was really nice.
Great jump out the board, actually.
I just saw a little loss of tension in her knees in the pike shape. You can maybe see it just a touch from this angle. She could lock those knees out a touch more, and then that makes the press out look a little bit better, but she knows where she is. She did a great job of holding the line through the water, keeping the splash down, and some good scores on the back 2.5 pike. It's turned into an exciting competition.
Absolutely.
Oh, again, the competence on the back and reverse spinning dives. That was not a good hurdle.
No, Bailey's bread and butter, I think.
I think she had 1 foot over the end, but 1 foot on the end, but still managed to send that dive straight up.
It never looked in doubt once she was in the air, though.
Exactly, and what a great entry there. Very nice. And she set the standard
really
for Evie.
Heating up this competition. Avery and Maya very close. How can Evie respond? 2 more dives to go for her. Great dive, well done.
Fair play. Again, she just looked like she was drifting a little bit shoulders over the end of the board. Jumped a touch too far forwards for me. But look at the angle that she comes in with her body, just like she was leaning forward, and managed to send it up just about enough to get enough rotation and the time to kick out and finish the dive off. But we've got an exciting final round ahead of us, I think.
We do. 2 groups, Maya and Avery. And then Bailey and Evie battling it out. That's going to make Maya pretty tough to beat. 3.0 degree of difficulty, and she's done it well.
Absolutely, and it was just 0.55 between them going into that last dive. So Avery
Same
now
dive.
62 points behind, same dive.
If she nails this, competition could be hers.
Oh, shame.
That is unlucky for Avery. She didn't get the hurdle step she wanted.
Yeah, she didn't set herself up well. Unfortunately, just stepped back in that hurdle, and it's always going to be a bit of a struggle from there. A bit rushed into the lineup, but
she tried to fight it round, but it wasn't quite enough.
Absolutely, but nevertheless, I mean, what an excellent job of her getting into the final and putting down really solid 4 dives.
Absolutely.
Definitely shown her talent today. Wow. Excellent finish there from Bailey.
Great.
with a great in between half somersaults tuck.
That's going to give Evie a challenge now for that bronze medal position. But this is a high degree of difficulty dive. Let's see how
Evie's looking for
responds.
about 62 points to be able to pip Bailey for a medal. That's a bit of a, it's a tough one. I'm not sure how the judges are going to go when they've gone 6.5s. Just a little bit too far forward, a little bit too short, even though she held the splashdown to get any higher awards. So tough competition there for Evie, tough competition, but she has shown.
What? This is the junior competition, the junior women's 3-meter final. Evie, she'll be a little bit disappointed with fourth place, I'm sure, because she knows her potential, but she still scored 265 points. It's a respectable score. That shows actually the standard of competition we just witnessed.
Exactly, and you know, to qualify for an Olympic Games, 280 is a reasonable score, and she's not far away from that at all with a below par performance. I think she'd honestly say so. That's really exciting, that's really encouraging, because a little bit more time spending working on those dives, then the sky's the limit.
Definitely.
But a fantastic performance from all of the divers.
Yeah, and we saw Maya there looking really happy. That is our champion. We will confirm the scores later, but she is our champion, and very well deserved. Very well deserved. So we'll have the official scores for you shortly. And I believe we have the results ready for you right now. So in fourth place, Evie Smith, as we said, 265.3, a respectable score, and we can see how much more she's got left in the tank.
Absolutely.
And same to Bailey, 268.95 for Team USA, that bronze medal position. Great job, Bailey. She's been solid all weekend. Avery wore a bell. She managed to still hold on to second position because of how strong the rest of her dives were. Silver medal for Team USA also, but our winner, 292.4, Maya Kuti, sending a message to the senior women.
Absolutely, and let's not forget, Henry 2.5 pike.
Absolutely. So now we've seen the results. We'll get a nice look back at the highlights of that event. We can see Maya there, our champion. It was an excellent first dive.
A great opener, a really good dive to build the confidence.
And Avery, our silver medal winner. Her first dive, a simple dive, beautifully executed.
Very nice looking diver. Really, really, all the movements really pleasing on the eye. Great form, good lines. Here we go with Maya again. Her reverse 2.5. This was an awesome, awesome dive.
Yeah, one of the dives of the competition, that one. Yeah, and we saw Maya's big smile as she was being congratulated by her teammates and other athletes and the judges. Everyone recognizing that she did a great performance. That was also another good dive from Avery. Of course, the same dive, reverse 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Maya's forward 3.5 somersaults with tuck. Comfortable, easy.
Really easy, and as I mentioned, you know, her in 2.5 pike did go quite significantly over, and with a dive like that and still being able to go 292, that shows the quality of all these other dives that she did.
Yeah, that's a 300 list easily. And this dive was nice. It was well rewarded by the judges. The only athlete in this final for doing this dive in the pike position, and she made it fairly comfortably. And
very
easily. Strong jump.
Absolutely.
And of course, Bailey, just very, very competent, solid throughout her entire list. The bronze medal winner. Congratulations to all of the divers in that event. Really well done. So the medal ceremonies for these, the junior finals, they're going to come just before the your final, actually,
okay.
Yona.
Yep.
just as we are waiting for the junior men's platform final to take place, we're just getting a full speed playback view of all those highlight dives that we did just see.
It shows the energy that goes into these dives when it's seen in full speed on replay. Really having to make those movements sharp. Not much time for decision making, not much time for thinking, just trusting in your instincts, your reactions, your feelings to try and execute the dive as best as possible.
Yeah, I was impressed by the standard of that competition. All of the women came meaning business. It was a high standard overall, and yeah, showing, there we go, look at that, very quick rotation. Once you get that full playback, it shows how effective she was.
And you know, when we're watching it from the side angle, that's all the judges get to see. This is all the judges get to see, as quickly as this. If you blink, you'll miss it, especially with entries like that.
Absolutely. So there we have, that's it, 3 of our 4 junior semi-finals completed.
One more to go.
One more to go. We're expecting some exciting things now, aren't we?
Yeah, the boys, again, with 6 dives rather than 5 in their platform final. The majority of the dives are going to be performed on the 10 meter, just a few from the 7 meter, especially from Jordan, the younger diver, but it's, you know, good to see him even on the 10 meter. It's tough for someone as young as him to be doing these dives. You know, they're not easy, they're quite scary, but he's a brave boy.
They are, but looking through this list of dives, particularly Tyler, Robbie, they look like a senior list.
Yeah, it's more or less at senior level already. So, you know, the list of dives for them is not going to change dramatically over the next 5 or 6 years. So they're going to get so much practice on these dives, day in, day out in training, frequently in competition, whenever or wherever they have them. And that's going to be vital to their experience, you know, when it comes to, as we mentioned, the LA Games in 2028. They're going to have so much experience on these dives, just going over and over and over on them, and could see some excellent performances if they manage to maintain the standard of work and manage to maintain the quality of their training on a daily basis.
Yeah, the future's bright, as we keep saying.
And we are ready to begin.
So everyone looks like they're in place. Our divers are ready, just getting the final words from their coaches. They'll make their way up to the 10 meter platform when they're ready. Jordan, he is up there on the 10 meter platform. He's doing a forward 3.5 somersaults in the pike position. He's just going to mark out his run up first.
As we say, he measures out his run-up just so he knows exactly where he needs to start in order to land right on the end of the board to get the jump, the direction, the speed, in order to make this dive with comfort and ease. And here he goes.
And with a little bit too much ease, unfortunately,
a little bit too much,
Jordan.
But for a young man like him, that's a great dive to start. Not easy to open the competition, as we've mentioned.
No. It's obvious to see Jordan's potential, isn't it? And he looks at place with some of these older competitors.
Yeah, he doesn't look out of his depth at all.
Not at all.
Handling himself really well.
Wow,
Tyler with his in with 3.5 and showing us the strength of his entries once again.
That was an excellent dive. The entire fluidity of that dive, and that's why he's been rewarded with 8s and 8.5s. Excellent dive. I think that's going to really galvanize the rest of the competition. What a way to open. Great job. Robbie Lee now, our third start, forward 3.5.
Ooh, just a touch over. Now really energetic, really dynamic in his start, so powerful in his movements, such a high jump. A little bit open in the pike shape. Could just work on that flexibility a little bit more to get a touch flatter in there. Great end, just a little bit over on the finish, but it's a great dive to start his competition with.
It was. He certainly is powerful. He's an exciting diver to watch. And so is Carson Paul for Canada. Carson being very strong throughout. And that's a solid start from Carson. This is what we saw from him in the preliminary round. He was consistent. And that's what we're seeing there. Sevens are a good score. All of the judges agreeing. There was a bit more water to be taken underneath.
Absolutely.
However, it's a good opening, and we expect Carson to continue in that style.
Definitely. Moving on to round 2 with Jordan. With his back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists. Oh, what a dive. Wow, yes. There you go. And exactly as you talked about in the previous round, the potential is clear to see. That is outstanding. What a beautiful entry. Perfect line through the water.
Straight nines to carry. Excellent stuff.
And look at him, so composed coming out of the water. I love that. Not phased.
Not phased. But that was big cheers all around.
Absolutely. And laying the gauntlet down to his competitor, Tyler, with the same dive.
Yeah, we have a back 2.5 somersaults with 1.5 twist again. Tyler's opening dive was sensational.
Just a small delay.
Sure he'll feel ready.
Not sure what this delay is for at the moment.
No. Just could be a few little things, maybe a slight.
Just testing Tyler's composure to maintain his focus whilst this delay's happening. He's still got his chamois, still just.
But this is a challenge, isn't it?
Trying and making sure
he doesn't know
ready.
What the problem is. He's ready for his dive, and he has to keep focused. He has to keep ready the entire time, but not knowing what the problem is.
And here we go.
We're ready
to go.
So I'm sure he's able to hold his nerve. Say Tyler's first dive in this final was sensational. Let's see what he can deliver now.
Oh.
And I actually remember he chose to do this dive with 2.5 twists, an extra twist in the preliminary round. He struggled a little bit, so he's made a very good tactical decision.
Yeah.
Great job, good entry, straight 8.5s to carry.
Well noticed, host commentator. Very good. Very good.
Thank you, Yona.
And it clearly showed that he wasn't affected by the delay or by the great execution of Jordan before him.
No, he was
ready,
ready,
kept focus on what he was doing.
Great stuff.
And executed his dive. Now that's not quite the longest handstand hold there from Robbie, so the judges might just deduct a little bit from his scores because he didn't quite hold as long as he could have done, even though the dive was executed well.
Yeah, that's tough because what he did in the air was superb. Great entry, comfortable, easy. But in this game, all of those things, they matter.
Absolutely. Now moving on to Carson with his reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck.
Everything was great until the finish. I love the kick.
It was a good, confident press out. Just didn't quite have the rotation at the start. Didn't quite finish the arm swing as sharply as he could have done to make sure that the dive span up and over
And you just always need to keep working until the dive is completely finished. This is Jordan with the same dive, a reverse 2.5 somersaults.
Oh,
And that's nicely done.
this is a classy young diver. Just pushed forward a little bit too far away from the end of the board.
The technique
However,
is all there, isn't
The
it?
technique is solid, the confidence in the press out, the line through the water. Just missed the rip ever so slightly, but not to worry.
I think back to the preliminary round, I think he really smoked that first one, but still a solid performance. But now, Tyler, in true Tyler fashion, he's just adding that degree of difficulty, the same dive, but with an extra somersault, reverse 3.5. Oh!
Now you can see he's just lacking the strength a little bit to make this dive comfortably at the moment, because the way he went about his start, you can see him just swinging his shoulders a little bit into the start, which you don't need, you don't want, because it affects your end.
He did have the time to line that one up. Maybe he wasn't ready for that. He's pulled that one over.
Moving on to Robbie with his in with 3.5 tuck. Just left it a touch short, but again, he's so strong in his entries. No matter what angle he lands at, he can still keep the
Good,
splash
isn't it?
down.
And his takeoffs is explosive. No matter what. Yeah, he's a fun diver to watch, isn't he, Robbie?
He is. Definitely brings energy, no matter the time of day, which is great to see. Moving to Carson, just hiding behind the pillar, but here he appears. He's forward 3.5 somersaults pikes. Beautiful pike shape, really flying that shape.
It was a stunning pike shape.
Just a little bit chin down on the end as he lines up, and you can see it's a little bit wonky on that angle. He actually took off his sides to go slightly sideways, and that probably affects the entry, unfortunately, but a reasonably solid dive there from Carson.
Yeah, he probably was hoping for a little bit more from that dive. We know that he's very capable on that dive. We saw that in the preliminary round.
Absolutely. And now we move to the first of the 7-meter dives from Jordan, the only diver that will be doing anything on the 7-meter. With his back 2.5 somersaults with tuck.
Just looks comfortable
It's just,
for him.
it's just very good, isn't it?
It is.
It's just very good.
And now we just expect him to put whatever dive he's doing, to put it down.
Exactly. There's still some technical elements in there that can be worked on and improved to make the movements even more efficient, even more comfortable. But he's got plenty of time for that, of course. Now we move to Tyler, and this is where the endurance and the cardiovascular system starts to take an effect, because we get into the later rounds of this competition. They're still diving very quickly, and there we see a small mistake from Tyler, just not quite getting the direction on the start, just drifting over, touching the end, and you know, he's been rapid getting back up there ready for each dive. Maybe he just needs to take his time to take a breath before he goes.
Yeah, it's hard, but I'm sure it is an exciting challenge for these guys to be able to dive so quickly.
Absolutely.
Back 3.5 with tuck for Robbie.
Wow, lovely.
So high, the finish.
Now, I think I remember from his prelim, he washed over on this one a little bit, and he's definitely improved his takeoff a little bit. There's less swing, much more work in the legs. There could be more stillness in the body as he swings his arms through, but the leg work and the jump was much more powerful in the upwards direction rather than backwards, and that allowed him to control the press out, control the line through the water.
Yeah, being nitpicky, I think I would prefer to see that as well, a slightly more block, because he's got power in abundance.
Absolutely.
Making the dive isn't difficult. He'll spin fast, he'll jump high. So to just get that block, it will only add to his control.
Absolutely.
Carson with a back arm stand, double somersault, 1.5 twists. That's more like the execution we were expecting, the consistency from Carson.
I quite like his patience from the pop into the twist. It looked like he waited a really long time before he reacted to that twist shape. And maybe if that pop goes up a little bit more, give him a little bit more time on the end to finish it off. But that's a good dive, and that's something that you can work on in the future to be able to add an extra twist. Flying through into round 5 with Jordan on the 7-meter back arm stand, double somersault with tuck.
So now just 2 more dives to go from all of our competitors. He's clever.
It's really clever. Now, with the pop, he did the right movements, just didn't quite fully extend his legs and allow the momentum to carry into the tuck shape. It was a bit of a pop and stop.
Pop and stop.
Pop and stop. And that's the reason why it just dropped a little bit short after the kick out. Unfortunate, but I mean, to be able to hold down an entry at that angle, the judges will still probably go with you a little bit, so it's a real strength to have.
Yeah, it helps to keep you in it. So this was a dive we saw last night in the team event that was really exceptional.
You know, I was just watching him right there preparing for his dive, and that was like a full-on imitation of what David Badaya used to do at the end of the board, stand with his hands on his thighs, deep breath through the chest, breathe out, and then to the end. Shows real composure, real confidence.
Ah, shame.
A great top to the dive, really sharp into the twist, just a shame on the entry.
And I think he's a bit unfortunate for it to be that splashy. He was almost there, just not having the tension, and the way he's hit the water has thrown up a lot. But obviously, we saw what he's capable of last night.
Now Robbie with his reverse 3.5. Again, a big dive for these juniors to be doing. And again, you're right, he could have a little bit more block, a little bit more body still. Don't think he needs that pull so much. But nevertheless, he did a good job of executing.
To finish a reverse 3.5 that comfortably for a junior shows the level that Robbie is at.
And the technique can be developed, no problem. Just takes a little bit of focus and actually just stepping outside of your comfort zone a little bit, because he's probably very comfortable with that start. But just to take it up to the next level, want to add the aesthetics, want to add the comfort, the consistency, and that comes from doing as best technique as possible on the start, because then the rest of the dive follows from there.
It's challenging to go outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's why it's called the comfort zone, right? You like it, you enjoy it, it's comfortable. But when you step outside of your comfort zone, that's where you see real improvement, real progress.
Yes.
And also, sometimes it feels even better when it works out.
That's true. I saw Carson absolutely nail this dive in training just now. Obviously, he hasn't quite done that here.
Now moving on to the final round of our junior male platform final, with Jordan on the 7-meter with an inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck.
Ooh, I was hoping that was going to be a Jordan special. He's nearly there. He's over-rotated. He's still clever with his hands on the water, but his legs have gone too far over his head to be able to really get the most out of the judges.
Just a touch, and you know, on 7-meter, a lot of control needs to be brought into the dive, and when he eventually takes it up on 10-meter, he's going to have a similar amount of time when he adds the extra somersault. So it's good practice to find that control, find the timing of the movements in order to execute it well.
So now Tyler Will's final dive, the back 3.5 somersaults in the tuck position. A good finish. He's recomposed himself excellently.
So strong on his entries, so strong, even at such an angle going over.
An impressive kid. I actually met Tyler's dad in the cafe earlier.
Oh yeah.
So he's had some family come over to support him.
Nice.
So
that's lovely.
That's nice to see all the way from the States, and to see Tyler dive so competently, I'm sure will have been a real joy for them.
Really well. Of course, we had our families out in Rio watching and supporting us, and it's such a great feeling to see them in the stands, right?
It's special.
Whoa, big dive to finish there from Robbie. Huge dive, the back 2.5 somersaults with 2.5 twists. Rapid through the movement, strong through the entry. Just a touch more work on the form for higher scores, but 432 as a junior male. Once again, like Leon in the 3-meter springboard event.
Yeah.
These British boys showing some real strength in their senior lists.
And he's just lightning fast, Robbie. Lightning fast. That's a complicated dive. And
Not an
made
issue.
It look pretty easy, really.
Absolutely.
It's just, yeah, it's adding that extra layer of polish to his diving that's going to really take him to the next level. But
Certainly.
The potential's huge.
And now our final diver of this event, Carson, on 10 meter, in with 3.5 somersaults with tuck. And a lovely finish.
Good
Great
finish,
good
Carson. Well
competition.
done. Yeah, he's kept going. He's kept pushing forward. It's one of his strongest dives. He's not had the exact final he was hoping for. He hasn't dived badly by any means, but
he
not
definitely would have been
we saw from the preliminary.
for a little bit more.
I think
sure.
so.
But, you know, that's how it goes. And I'm about to love you and leave you because I'm going to do some training.
Yes,
to prep for my event.
absolutely.
I haven't got much time.
You have to compete, don't they?
Yeah. You can come join me if you want. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Come on. Just a
okay.
little, you know, bounce around. A pike jump, something like that.
And the 307.
Yona,
Anyway.
thank you. I'll speak to you later.
Yes.
Good luck for your competition.
I'll see you later. Thank you very much.
All right, so that is the end of our first session of the day. Sorry, our second session of the day. That means we've completed all of the junior finals. We saw the men on the 3-meter springboard, then we saw the women up on the 10-meter, then the women up on the 3-meter springboard, and then we just saw the junior men's platform final. Some really, really impressive diving from all of the guys. It was awesome stuff. Obviously, Robbie Lee particularly standing out, Tyler standing out. I'm excited to see the medal ceremony and the results coming through any moment now. And say what the results are almost ready up on the scoreboard just to confirm officially what the medals will be for the junior men's platform final. I'd say the future's very bright for all of these guys. I believe the results are ready. 4th place, Carson Paul for Canada, 358.95. Obviously, he was the round leader going into the final, but they started from 0, so that's unfortunate for Carson. But in our bronze medal position, Jordan Fisher-Eames for Team England, 372.75. Great job, Jordan. An excellent job to Tyler Wills for Team USA, 403.6. He's broken 400. It's an excellent job, but a lot more left in it as well. And Robbie Lee, he'll be really pleased for Team Great Britain. He's won the junior men's platform final with 432.05. Yona, my co-commentator there, telling me just now about how impressive that score is. And we've got some highlights to show you guys from those events. So that's obviously Tyler's inward 3.5, his opening dive. It was a really incredible way for him to start his competition. And Robbie just dive after dive, putting them down, very clean on the water, very comfortable in the air. As you say, just adding that extra layer of finesse to get those huge scores. That was a crazy dive from Jordan. He completely smoked the entry, disappeared. Tyler Wills again, his back 2.5 with 1.5 twist. A great response to Jordan's dive. And we're seeing Jordan again, his back 2.5 somersaults with tuck. That was from the 7.5 meter platform. Really excited to see Jordan when he's able to get a list of dives on the 10 meter when he starts doing the back and reverse 3.5 dives from 10, because he already looks so comfortable. And then he'll really start to give Robbie Lee a run for his money. And that was Tyler's final dive. The back 3.5 somersaults with tuck, bouncing back for a good finish. And our final diver of that event, Carson Paul, his inward 3.5. Yeah, I have to say, great job to all of the guys. Really, really well done. And we're just gonna run through those dives, but at full speed now, just to get the live impact, the dramatic impact of how quickly these guys actually do their dives. It's really amazing stuff. See there, particularly Robbie, he's very, very quick in the air, very fast spinner. But everyone in this event can go through the water like no one's business, just disappearing. Really, really impressive. There we are. Because obviously, the juniors, they've had their opportunity now to do their finals. That means one thing, and one thing only, that the senior finals are up next. I know, speaking to Yona, that watching the juniors, in particular for Yona, watching Leon Baker on the 3 meter springboard, it made him a bit nervous. I think Yona was happy that he wasn't in the same competition as him. That is the next competition we will have coming up, the men's 3 meter springboard final at 3:10, followed closely by the women's platform final, then the women's 3 meter springboard final, and finally, the men's platform final. That will wrap up our 6th session, but we will still have one more session after that. So everyone, please do not go anywhere. We saw some phenomenal dives from all of the juniors, really tight competitions, very close finishes from everyone, but some excellent stuff. And that's, 4 medal ceremonies that we will see soon, and they'll come up right before the finals of the senior athletes. But as I say, that is what we do have. We will follow the same format: men's 3 meter, women's platform, women's 3 meter, and finally men's platform. So don't go anywhere. Join us at 3 o'clock for those competitions. And thank you for tuning in. See you soon, guys.